Hello Planet Internet, I'm Emperor Cole and this is Emperor Cole Film Review brought to you by MindbenderENT.com. And today I'm here to review the movie that ends them all, Avengers Infinity War. This is going to be a spoiler review, so dread it, run from it. This spoiler review has arrived. Let's do it! Okay, so Avengers Infinity War, Marvel has been building up this movie over the course of the last 10 years and the last 18 films. Everyone knew that Thanos was coming. Of course, Thanos had been teased at the end of 2 or 3 teasers at the end of movies, like the end credits scenes, so we all knew Thanos was coming. Everyone who follows the comics knows that Thanos is the baddest of all of the MCU villains. And in the comic book, he has damn near impenetrable skin. He's super duper powerful. So of course for the movies, they had to power him down some to make it more of a fair fight for the actual heroes. But I love the way Josh Brolin portrayed this character and the way that they presented him as a 3-dimensional being. So he wasn't just a bad guy for the sake of being bad. They presented Thanos the warrior, and they showed when he kicked the shit out of the Hulk, and they showed just to show you that he could hold his own. He just didn't beat Hulk up. He completely dominated the Hulk. Next, they showed Thanos the father. Those emotional scenes with Gamora, like when he had to throw her off of the cliff to get the Soul Stone, that was like heart-wrenching, like, oh my God, he had to do it. And just to see, like, when Red Skull said, you know, those tears aren't for him. When Gamora thought he was crying because he didn't love anything, he was crying because he loved her and he was gonna have to throw her off. That was one of the most emotional scenes in the whole entire movie. But I love the way they presented Thanos. They presented Thanos as the thinker, like the philosopher, when he's having those conversations with Stark. And he's letting them know, hey, the reason why I'm doing this was because, or actually, when he's not just Tony Stark, but he's talking with Doctor Strange. And I tried to tell them that eventually the resources were finite, it was going to run out. And he says, you know, he was the only person with the willpower to act on it and to do what needed to be done. And they called him mad because he suggested getting rid of half of the population. But they presented Thanos the thinker, like Thanos the actual gentleman. After he stabbed Tony Stark through the stomach, impaled him, like that was it. Stark was getting ready to go, and he's getting ready to use the gauntlet to kill him. And then Doctor Strange jumps up and says, "No, stop, wait!" You know, he was a gentleman. He after he impaled him, he rubbed his head, paused, and said, "Stark, you know," he said, "You've earned my respect." He told him, "You have my respect. Half of humanity will remain when I'm done." Like, Thanos was the best supervillain. He's the best villain the MCU has ever had. I love the way they presented him, and I love that they made him so much more than just a regular villain. They made him a complex character who had a lot of different layers to him. And at different points, I found myself rooting for Thanos. I was really wanting him to complete the gauntlet, so hey, what can I say? And although he was the villain in the film, Thanos was actually very compassionate. Of course, with Scarlet Witch, when she had to destroy the stone, Vision's Mind Stone, and she had to kill him. And when Thanos, you know, he kind of says to her, you know, I understand the loss. He says, this day has extracted a toll on me. Basically letting her know, I've lost a whole lot today. And he was very compassionate to her loss, but of course, he then used the gauntlet to pull back time and bring Vision back so he could whip the stone out of his head and complete the gauntlet. Also, when he showed up to Titan and he got there and Doctor Strange was sitting down and he looks at him and says to him, "I suppose the Maw is dead." He looked genuinely concerned or kind of disappointed that he lost Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw, of course, the preacher, reverend type who was doing all the talking with the magic and the mystics, who was fighting with Doctor Strange. He was like his guy. I think his number 2 guy. I think the directors of this film did a very good job with the multiple characters and making sure everybody got a decent amount of screen time, because this was the very first time that a lot of these Marvel superhero characters had met each other. This was the very first time that Iron Man met Doctor Strange. It was the first time that he met the Guardians of the Galaxy. It was the first time that Thor met the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like the scene when he turns around, looks at them and says, "Who the hell are you guys?" You know? So that's something that, even though you've been seeing these characters in their own individual movies, it's something that we, the audience, kind of forget, that we know them, but they don't know each other. So the directors did an excellent job blending the characters and with some of the character combinations that they actually picked. Like Tony Stark, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange end up on Ebony Maw's ship going to Titan. They also did a very good job at showing the love story between Peter Quill and Gamora without entrenching the whole entire movie in it. So it was something, it was a running theme, the fact that they have this love thing that's expanding, it's going deeper. They show Thanos as her father figure, and he's like the dad, just like that scene where they're on nowhere, and he has to pull out the gun, and she's telling him to shoot her. And of course, Peter Quill is sitting there hesitating, because of course he doesn't want to kill Gamora, because he loves her. And Thanos actually like pushes her towards him, just go ahead, do it. And then, when he finally pulls the trigger, and of course Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet, so he uses the Reality Stone so that only bubbles come out of it. And he's like, what the, Quill is confused. And he's like, I like him, He liked the fact that he had the balls to actually pull the trigger to try to do it. But then, of course, Thanos opens up the portal and him and Gamora disappear. He takes her. The running theme to this movie seems to be, what is a life worth, in my opinion? And what I mean by that is, when Captain America tells Vision, we don't trade lives, and then later on, when Captain America is battling with Corvus Glaive, and Corvus gets him down, and then, of course, Vision completely stabs Corvus Glaive to the back, and then afterward he tells him, we don't trade lives, Captain, and that was after Captain America told him to, just to leave, just to get out of there. And that seemed to be the thing that was ongoing throughout the whole entire movie. Like, of course, when Vision told Scarlet Witch, he told her, yo, you're going to probably have to kill me. You have an energy signature very similar to the stone. You could destroy it. And she tells him, we're not having this conversation. So she's letting him know that his life is not worth her destroying the stone. And then later on, or even earlier in the film, with Gamora. Gamora told Star-Lord, hey, if it comes to it, I'm going to need you to kill me just in case Thanos gets me. If Thanos gets me, I need you to know that you will kill me. Promise me. Swear to me you'll do it. Just like with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange told Tony Stark and Spider-Man flat out. He says, yo, if it comes to it, I'll let both of you die. I will not give up the time stone. And then when it actually came to it, when after Thanos had stabbed Tony Stark in the stomach and was getting ready to kill him, and Doctor Strange tells him, wait, and he trades the time stone for Tony Stark's life. Of course, once again, what is a life worth? What are you willing to trade for someone's life? That's a running theme throughout the whole entire film. Just like with Thor. Thor had to risk his life to hold open that star portal thingy so that Stormbreaker could be created by the dwarf that was played by Peter Dinklage. So the giant dwarf played by Peter Dinklage. So once again, Thor was willing to put his life on the line. He was willing to trade his life to get this new hammer because he felt like he needed that hammer to be able to kill Thanos, to be able to have a chance in a fight against Thanos. So that's the running theme throughout the whole entire film and it was beautifully done. I love the way they did it. It was great the way they pulled it off. What is a life worth? What are you willing to trade for someone's life? And speaking of the value of a life, of course, Thanos is trying to balance the whole entire universe. Anybody who's familiar with the comic book run that was done by Jim Starlin, I was not 100% sure if they were going to do the finger snap, but once Thanos got all 6 of the stones, I knew that finger snap was coming. So even though they had did such a great job, the heroes had fought so valiantly, it was one of those things where it was like, oh my God, they're really about to do it. Thanos is about to blink out half of the universe with the snap of his fingers. And sure enough, when it happens, when Thor sits there and says, what did you do? What did you do? I knew what he did. Anybody who followed the comic book knew what he did. And when people start disappearing randomly, just start fading away out of existence, I was so happy and elated that Marvel had the moxie. They had the gravitas, the balls to actually do this. I was like, yo, this is the reason why Marvel reigns. This is why Marvel reigns supreme. This is why they're the king of the mountain as it comes to comic book movies. It's the reason why they're winning so much in the box office right now, because they're willing to take chances. They're willing to do things that other companies, other studios are not doing. The bad guy wins in this movie. And he doesn't just win a little, he wins a lot. The most emotional scenes in the film for me personally was one, when Thanos had to throw Gamora off of the cliff to get the Soul Stone. That was just way too much for me because as a father, there was no way in God's name I could ever sacrifice my child for anything in this world, especially not my daughter. So the fact that he shed tears because he knew he was going to have to throw her off the edge to get the Soul Stone so he could complete this mission that meant so much to him, balancing the universe, that was crazy. I mean, Crazy. Then the second scene that was the most emotional in the film for me was when Spider-Man actually dies and he fades to dust and he gets like scared. He goes from being Spider-Man, the superhero, to just this regular 15, 16-year-old kid who runs to his father figure, Tony Stark. He like runs to his arms and he's so scared and he's like, Mr. Stark, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And he's so scared. He's like he's about to cry. And that's, oh my God, that almost brought tears to my eyes in the theater. There were people around me who started crying watching that scene because it was so crazy. And just seeing how Stark had to like he like almost like falls down, like he almost like lays down with them, pause, and he's trying to like correct himself. It's almost like he realizes, okay, at the last minute, he has to be a man. He has to take this other man that he's about to die. And he tries to like straighten himself up. That was heart-wrenching. But those two scenes got me. Like that was filmmaking to an emotional scenes at its absolute best. That's what we go to the movies for. That's why we pay the money. That's why we go back for more than one showing. That's why I go back 3-4 times. I've seen the movie 3 times already. I don't know about you, but it's that level of filmmaking, that level of emotion that makes you feel something. That's what it's all about. Another thing I love about this film is that they were consistent with the fact that Shuri is considered to be the smartest person in the whole entire MCU universe. So even when Bruce Banner is there and they're going over Vision's like circuitry and how he's put together, and she's saying, why didn't you have them all work together? Why didn't you have all the different nodes work together so that to control his circuitry? And he's like, we didn't think about that. And she's like, oh, I'm sure you tried your best. She's smarter than Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. Like, that's dope that they kept that. This young 16, 17-year-old girl in Wakanda is smarter than both. There's another interesting little nugget in this movie that a lot of people suddenly probably missed. When they are speaking about Vision and trying to talk about how they can get the Mind Stone out of Vision and keep him still alive, Banner specifically says to everybody that Vision is part Ultron, part Tony Stark, part him, and part the Mind Stone. So of course, this is something leading into Avengers Part 4, whatever it's going to be called. I'm pretty sure this explains that Vision is going to be able to be brought back to life at some point. At some point, he's going to be able to come back and he's not going to have the Mind Stone. He's going to still be able to live and exist, okay? But that part of Ultron that's still in him sounds like Ultron is going to be able to come back in a later film at some point in time. So that's something to look out for. That was like a little Easter egg that seems like it was snuck in there and it went right under a lot of people's noses. Okay, so another thing that I want to touch upon in this film was actually the death scenes. So, of course, we had Vision, we had Gamora, we had Loki, and we had Heimdall dying by the actual hand of Thanos, where he physically killed them. These characters who died, I don't think they're actually coming back. There were characters, of course, who evaporated at the end of the movie. Basically, they're fading out of existence because Thanos did the snap to wipe out half of the universe. These are the characters who I think there's a chance that they could be coming back in Avengers 4 or what have you. But the people who he actually physically killed, I don't think they're coming back at all. So of course then there's Gamora, right? People think that Gamora has to come back because she's the love interest of Star-Lord, right? That's the same thing I thought myself. But if you know anything about real life, the actress Zoe Saldana, who plays the character of Gamora, she's also obligated to do the next 3 or 4 Avatar films for James Cameron. So that's definitely going to fill up her schedule. And she's also plays a character in the Star Trek universe, the Star Trek reboot that was done by J.J. Abrams. So it looks like her character may be so full that perhaps she's not coming back as Gamora, or maybe there'll just be some flashback scenes where maybe Star-Lord's having dreams or fantasies or something of that nature where he's thinking about her, but she's actually dead or trapped inside the Soul Stone. So I don't think she's coming back. The only beef that I can think of that I really have with this movie, the only plot point that I think they really should have improved or done something better is after they defeat Ebony Maw and his ship is headed back to Titan, and Tony Stark suggests to Doctor Strange and Spider-Man that, hey, how about we take the fight to him? We've seen what they can do in New York and how much damage they can do. How about we go to his home planet and we take the fight there? At this point, he feels like Spider-Man is just a kid. He doesn't have enough battle experience. So why would you want to go to Titan to take on this guy where you have no idea what you're facing at Thanos? And you just met Doctor Strange, so it makes no sense that you would go to Titan Titan to fight with Doctor Strange, and you just met him. You don't know how strong he is. You don't know how much power he even has. So that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That's one plot point that they definitely could have changed, because there's no way he could have known that they were going to run into the Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's no way he could have known that they were going to get any type of a backup. So that made absolutely no sense. It's one of those things that you kind of just go along with it because it's quote unquote a superhero movie. Okay, so Avengers Infinity War, this is my absolute favorite Marvel movie that's ever been made. This movie has the laughs, it's got the action, it's got the heart, it's got the emotion. This is the movie that we expected to see after the 10-year build-up for it. This movie, I'm gonna have to give it a score on the Mindbender movie meter of 99%. Avengers Infinity War, 99%. I love this film. This movie is great. I've seen it in theaters 3 times now. I plan on going to see it at least 2 more times. You definitely want to see this movie while it is in theaters. It definitely lives up to the hype. Avengers Infinity War. Okay, so if you enjoyed this review, definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel. And as I said before, we are going to have significantly more videos and coverage of Avengers Infinity War. So definitely make sure you're on the lookout for those. So make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. And definitely make sure you check out the website, mindbenderent.com. And remember, the future is now.